The lecture hall buzzed with the usual chatter of students from a dozen different species. Claire Foster sat in her usual spot in the back row, her modified biomask making her appear as just another humanoid variant from the outer colonies. She had perfected the art of blending in over 3 years at Galactic Archive University. Professor Vexitar, a towering insectoid with crystalline wings, activated the holographic display at the front of the room. Images of a blue and green planet filled the space above the students' heads. Today we conclude our unit on extinct species, the professor announced, his mandibles clicking with each word. We will examine the cautionary tale of humanity, a species that destroyed itself through war and greed. Claire's hands tightened on her datapad. She had sat through variations of this lecture before, always staying silent, always hiding. But something felt different today. The hologram shifted to show ruined cities, crumbling structures overtaken by nature. Professor Vexitar gestured dramatically at the images. Humanity reached for the stars but could not overcome their violent nature. 200 years ago, they triggered a series of nuclear exchanges that rendered their homeworld uninhabitable. Not a single human survived the catastrophe they brought upon themselves. A Draken student in the front row raised a clawed hand. Professor, is it true they had no natural weapons? No venom, no armored skin? Indeed, Vexitar replied. Humans were physically weak by galactic standards. Soft skin, blunt teeth, no protective scales or exoskeletons. They compensated with tools and weapons which ultimately led to their downfall. Claire felt her heart pounding. The colony ship Perseverance had left Earth in 2247, carrying 500 humans in cryosleep. They were supposed to establish a new world, to be pioneers. Instead, they had slept for 2 centuries while the galaxy moved on without them. When Claire and the others finally woke, they found a universe that believed their entire species was dead. The humans left behind ruins and warnings, the professor continued. Their tomb world, Earth, remains quarantined to this day. A monument to the dangers of unchecked aggression and technological advancement without wisdom. Another student spoke up, a gelatinous being from the Kalmari system. Why do we study them if they're gone? Because their mistakes teach us valuable lessons, Vexitar said firmly. Every species in this room has benefited from humanity's absence. The power vacuum they left allowed the Vokram Empire to stabilize the outer sectors. The Sylphid Collective expanded their trade networks. Even this university was built on a station that once served human commerce. Claire's fingernails dug into her palms beneath the desk. 3 years of lies. 3 years of falsified records claiming she was from some obscure colony world. 3 years of watching her people be discussed like ancient history, like a cautionary tale told to children. The galaxy is better without them, a student whispered nearby. Something inside Claire snapped. She stood up slowly, her chair scraping against the floor. The sound cut through the lecture hall, drawing eyes from every direction. Professor Vexitar paused mid-sentence. Miss Chen Variant, he said, reading from his class roster. Do you have a question? Claire reached up and deactivated her biomask. The device powered down with a soft hum, and suddenly her features were visible. Smooth skin instead of scales. Round eyes instead of multifaceted ones. Hair that fell in waves instead of tentacles or feathers. I have a question, Professor, she said, her voice steady despite the trembling in her legs. If humanity went extinct 200 years ago, then who am I? The lecture hall erupted into chaos. Students scrambled away from their seats. A sylphid screamed and flew toward the exit. The Draken student hissed and extended his neck frills in a defensive display. Someone triggered an emergency alert, and red lights began flashing along the walls. Professor Vexitar stumbled backward, his wings flaring in shock. Impossible. Security. We have a biological contamination. I'm not contaminated, Claire said, but her voice was lost in the panic. Armed security guards burst through the doors within seconds. They wore full environmental suits and carried containment equipment. Claire raised her hands, showing she meant no harm, but they surrounded her anyway. Do not move, the lead guard commanded through his helmet speaker. You are being detained under Galactic Health Protocol 7. I haven't done anything wrong, Claire protested as they approached with scanning devices. She's reading as human, one guard said, checking his scanner in disbelief. Actual baseline human. No modifications, no variants. How is this possible? Seal the lecture hall, the lead guard ordered. No one leaves until we've completed decontamination scans. Students pressed against the walls as far from Claire as they could get. Some were crying. Others recorded everything on their devices, already uploading to the galactic networks. Professor Vexitar had recovered enough to speak, though his voice shook. Where did you come from? How did you get here? The colony ship Perseverance, Claire said as guards attached restraints to her wrists. We left Earth before whatever you think happened. We've been in cryosleep for 200 years. Lies, the professor hissed. Human extinction is documented fact. Then your facts are wrong, Claire shot back. The guards pulled her toward the door. Students parted like water, none willing to get close to her. Claire saw fear in their eyes, disgust in others. A few looked curious but most just looked horrified. As they dragged her into the corridor, Claire caught sight of the screens mounted on the walls. News feeds were already updating across 12 different species networks. Her face, captured from someone's recording device, spread across the galaxy at the speed of light. Human discovered alive, scrolled across a Vokram news channel. Extinct species found at university, proclaimed a Sylphid broadcast. Impossible student claims human heritage, read another headline. The guards hauled Claire through the station corridors while maintenance workers and other students pressed themselves against the walls. Word had spread fast. Everyone knew. Everyone was watching. They brought her to a holding facility in the station's security sector. The cell was small and sterile, with transparent walls that allowed guards to monitor her constantly. They removed the restraints but sealed the door with an energy field. Claire sat on the bench and stared at the ceiling. Her hands were still shaking. 3 years of hiding, gone in one moment of defiance. She had known this would happen eventually. She had known she could not stay hidden forever. But she had never expected it to feel like this. Through the transparent wall, she could see guards gathered around a display screen. More news feeds. More headlines. Her revelation was spreading through the galaxy like wildfire. What have I done? Claire whispered to herself. Then she saw it. On one of the screens, a Vokram official was making a statement. The subtitle read, Empire demands human specimen be transferred to quarantine world immediately. Claire's blood ran cold. She was not just a curiosity anymore. She was a problem that the galaxy needed to solve. And she had no idea what they would do with her. Claire had been in the holding cell for 6 hours when the door finally opened. She expected more guards, more questions, maybe even transfer to some quarantine facility light years away. Instead, a being unlike any she had seen before entered the room. He was tall and appeared to be made entirely of living crystal. Light refracted through his body in rainbow patterns, and when he moved, musical chimes seemed to echo from within him. His face, if it could be called that, was smooth and featureless except for 2 glowing points where eyes might be. Miss Foster, he said, his voice like wind through glass bottles. I am Tharn, representative of the Galactic Council. I have been sent to verify your claims. Claire stood up from the bench, her muscles stiff from sitting so long. Verify? You mean you think I'm lying? The galaxy believes humanity extinct, Tharn replied simply. Your existence contradicts 2 centuries of accepted history. Naturally, we must be certain. He gestured to a medical team waiting outside the cell. They entered cautiously, carrying scanning equipment and sample collection devices. Claire recognized some of the tools from her biology classes, but others looked unfamiliar and vaguely threatening. I need to take samples, one of the medics explained, a small furred creature with 6 arms. Blood, tissue, genetic material. It will not hurt much. Claire held out her arm. The medic worked quickly, extracting blood and running scans over her body. The other team members recorded everything, their devices humming and beeping constantly. Tharn watched in silence, his crystalline form perfectly still. After 20 minutes, the lead medic looked up at him and nodded. The DNA is genuine, the medic said quietly. She is human. Baseline standard, no modifications or variants. According to our databases, her genetic markers match archived human samples perfectly. Tharn's glow intensified slightly. Impossible. Impossible or not, it is true, the medic replied. She is what she claims to be. The medical team packed up their equipment and left. Tharn remained, studying Claire with those glowing points of light. Tell me everything, he said. Claire sat back down and explained. She told him about the Perseverance, about the 500 colonists who left Earth in 2247 seeking a new world. She explained the cryosleep malfunction that kept them frozen far longer than intended. She described waking up 3 years ago to find the galaxy had moved on without humanity. We had no idea Earth was supposed to be destroyed, Claire said. When we reached the nearest station and learned what everyone believed, we panicked. I falsified my records and enrolled here using a fake identity. The others scattered across the galaxy, hiding just like me. How many others? Tharn asked. 417 survived the journey, Claire answered. The rest died when the cryosystems failed. Tharn was quiet for a long moment. The light patterns shifting through his body created hypnotic waves of color. This presents a significant problem, he finally said. A problem? I'm a person, not a problem. You misunderstand, Tharn replied. Your existence is not the issue. The issue is what your existence reveals about the galaxy's current structure. He activated a holographic display from a device on his wrist. Images appeared in the air between them, showing star charts and territorial boundaries. When humanity supposedly went extinct, the Galactic Council redistributed former human territories. The Vokram Empire claimed most of the strategic trade routes. The Sylphid Collective took over commercial stations. Dozens of species divided up resources, colonies, and infrastructure that humans left behind. Claire felt a cold sensation in her stomach. So you're saying people benefited from us being gone? Many species built their current prosperity on that foundation, Tharn confirmed. The Vokram Empire in particular has grown powerful, controlling what were once human shipping lanes. Their economy depends on maintaining those routes. But we're not gone, Claire said firmly. We're still here. Indeed. Which raises difficult questions about rightful ownership, reparations, and territorial claims. Tharn's glow dimmed slightly. Questions that some species will not want answered. He swiped the hologram and new images appeared. Claire gasped. It was Earth, but not as she remembered from old recordings. The planet looked pristine from orbit, blue oceans and green continents visible beneath white clouds. This is Earth? She asked. Yes. Current imagery from our monitoring satellites. But Professor Vexitar said it was destroyed. Irradiated. Uninhabitable. Earth has been declared a quarantined tomb world for 200 years, Tharn explained. No vessel is permitted to approach it. The official reason is radiation contamination from nuclear war. Claire stared at the image. That planet doesn't look irradiated. No, Tharn agreed quietly. It does not. So what really happened? Why is it quarantined if it's not contaminated? That information is classified at the highest council levels. I do not have access to those records. Claire stood up abruptly. I want to see it. I want to go to Earth. That is forbidden. By who? Who has the right to keep me from my own homeworld? Tharn's glow flickered. The Galactic Council established the quarantine. Any vessel approaching Earth without authorization will be destroyed. Then get authorization, Claire demanded. You're a council representative. Make them let me see what happened. Before Tharn could respond, alarms blared throughout the station. Red emergency lights flashed in the corridor outside the cell. A guard rushed to the door. Representative Tharn, we have a situation. A Vokram battle fleet just entered the system. They're demanding we hand over the human. Tharn's entire body flared bright white. They have no jurisdiction here. They claim quarantine protocols give them authority over extinct species specimens, the guard replied nervously. Claire felt her heart racing. Specimens? They want to treat me like some kind of lab animal? The Vokram Empire has the most to lose if your existence becomes widely known, Tharn said. They will attempt to suppress this information by any means necessary. He turned to face her fully, and Claire saw something in his glowing eyes that looked almost like sympathy. I'm going to give you a choice, Miss Foster. I can declare you a protected individual under council law and fight the Vokram claim. This will likely lead to political conflict and potentially military action. Many will die. What's the other choice? You publicly deny your humanity. You claim the genetic tests were contaminated or falsified. You disappear into the galaxy under a new identity and never reveal yourself again. Claire thought about the other survivors scattered across space, all hiding just like she had been. She thought about Earth, beautiful and alive but locked away behind lies and quarantine zones. She thought about Professor Vexitar teaching students that humanity destroyed itself through violence and stupidity. No, she said firmly. I'm not hiding anymore. I want to know what happened to Earth. I want to know why everyone thinks we're extinct. And I want answers. Tharn's glow pulsed once, bright and clear. Then we have much work to do, he said. And very little time. The diplomatic negotiations with the Vokram fleet dragged on for 2 days. Claire remained in her holding cell, watching news feeds and listening to debates rage across the galaxy. Some species demanded her protection. Others called for her immediate quarantine. The Vokram Empire insisted she be handed over to their custody for proper containment. On the third night, Claire heard a soft tapping on the transparent wall of her cell. She looked up to see Mira hovering outside. Her roommate was a sylphid, a species that resembled large moths with iridescent wings and delicate antennae. Mira's wings shimmered with nervous energy as she pressed a small device against the energy field, keeping Claire locked inside. "Mira? What are you doing here?" "Rescuing you," Mira whispered, her voice like wind through leaves. "The guards are distracted by another protest outside the security center. We have maybe 5 minutes." The energy field flickered and died. Claire stepped out quickly, glancing down the corridor. It was empty, but she could hear shouting in the distance. "You could get expelled for this," Claire said. "You're my friend," Mira replied simply. "Besides, I've been doing research since your revelation. Something about the official story doesn't make sense." They moved quickly through the station service corridors. Mira had clearly planned this route carefully, avoiding main hallways and security checkpoints. Her wings brushed against the walls and the narrow passages, making soft rustling sounds. "What kind of research?" Claire asked as they climbed through a maintenance shaft. "The timeline is wrong," Mira explained. "Historical records show human extinction happened 200 years ago, right? But economic data shows the Vokram Empire suddenly expanding their trade networks 203 years ago. 3 years before humanity supposedly destroyed themselves." Claire paused on the ladder. "That doesn't make sense." "Exactly. Also, radiation surveys of Earth from 150 years ago show normal background levels. Not the massive contamination you'd expect from nuclear war. They emerged in a docking bay reserved for research vessels. Small ships lined the hangar, most of them automated survey craft." Mira led Claire to one near the back, a sleek vessel designed for long-range exploration. "You're not seriously suggesting we steal a ship," Claire said. "I already reprogrammed the security codes," Mira replied, opening the hatch. "Technically it's borrowed. I plan to return it." "Mira, if we do this there's no going back. You'll be a criminal." The sylphid's antennae twitched with determination. "Then we better make it worth it. Get in." Claire hesitated only a moment before climbing aboard. The ship's interior was cramped but functional, with 2 seats in the cockpit and basic life support systems. Mira sealed the hatch and moved to the pilot's position, her 6-fingered hands dancing across the controls. "Do you even know how to fly this?" Claire asked, strapping into the co-pilot seat. "I've logged 40 hours in flight simulators," Mira said cheerfully. "How hard can it be?" The engines hummed to life. Alarms immediately started blaring throughout the docking bay. "Security override detected," a computerized voice announced. "Unauthorized launch sequence initiated." "Hold on," Mira said and pushed the throttle forward. The ship shot out of the docking bay so fast that Claire's stomach lurched. Station defenses activated immediately, targeting lasers tracking their trajectory. Mira banked hard, dodging the first volley of warning shots. "They're not actually trying to hit us," she said. "Just scare us into stopping." "It's working," Claire gasped, gripping her armrests as Mira performed another sharp turn. They cleared the station's defensive perimeter and accelerated into open space. Behind them, Claire could see smaller security craft launching in pursuit. Further out, the massive Vokram battle fleet hung in space like dark metal clouds. "Where exactly are we going?" Claire asked. "Earth," Mira said. "You wanted answers, right? Let's go find them." She punched in coordinates and activated the faster-than-light drive. The stars stretched into lines as they jumped into hyperspace, leaving their pursuers behind. The journey to Earth's system took 18 hours. Mira programmed the ship to drop out of hyperspace at the edge of the solar system, far enough to avoid immediate detection. They spent the time reviewing what little information was publicly available about Earth. "Every official document says the same thing," Mira said, reading from her datapad. "Humanity triggered nuclear war. Earth became uninhabitable. The planet was quarantined to prevent contamination spreading." "But you found evidence that contradicts that," Claire said. "Not just contradicts it. The whole story falls apart when you look closely. Trade records, radiation surveys, economic patterns. None of it matches what we're told happened. They dropped out of hyperspace at the designated coordinates." Claire's breath caught as she saw Earth's sun in the distance, a familiar yellow star that she had only seen in old recordings. "There," Mira said, pointing at the navigation display. "Third planet from the sun." She plotted a course toward Earth, keeping their speed low and their energy signatures minimal. As they got closer, Claire noticed something strange on the sensors. "Mira, are those ships?" Dozens of vessels appeared on their scans, arranged in a defensive perimeter around Earth. They were all Volcrum design, massive warships bristling with weapons. "That's not a quarantine," Mira whispered. "That's a blockade." They moved closer, using the ship's stealth systems to avoid detection. Earth grew larger in the viewport, and Claire felt tears forming in her eyes. The planet was beautiful. Blue oceans sparkled in the sunlight. Green and brown continents spread across the surface. White clouds swirled in familiar patterns. "It's perfect," she breathed. "There's no radiation damage. No nuclear winter. Nothing." Mira scanned the surface with their instruments. "I'm picking up cities. Some are overgrown, but the structures are intact. This is not a destroyed world." "Then why does everyone think it is?" Before Mira could answer, their ship lurched violently. Alarms screamed through the cockpit. "We've been caught in a tractor beam," Mira said, fighting with the controls. "I can't break free." On their display, one of the Volcrum ships was pulling them in. A massive space station came into view, previously hidden behind Earth's moon. It was enormous, bristling with sensors and weapons, clearly designed for one purpose. "They're not quarantining Earth to protect the galaxy from radiation," Claire said quietly. "They're hiding it." "But why?" Mira asked as their ship was drawn inexorably toward the station's docking bay. The station's hangar opened like a huge metal mouth. As they were pulled inside, Claire saw dozens of other ships already docked. Some were human designs, old colony vessels and transport craft. Others were Volcrum military ships. All of them looked like they had been there for a very long time. The tractor beam deposited their ship on a landing pad. Through the viewport, Claire saw armed Volcrum soldiers surrounding them, weapons raised. "I think we're about to find out," Claire said. The hatch unsealed with a hiss. A tall Volcrum officer stepped forward, his scaled face twisted in what might have been a smile. "Welcome to Earth Orbital Station 7, he said. "You've made a terrible mistake coming here." Volcrum soldiers dragged Claire and Mira from their ship at gunpoint. The station's interior was cold and sterile, with harsh lighting that hurt Claire's eyes. They were marched through corridors lined with viewing windows that looked down at Earth's surface. The Volcrum officer who had greeted them walked ahead, his heavy boots clanging on the metal floor. His scales were dark green, almost black, and he wore the insignia of a captain on his armored chest. "I am Captain Rend," he said without looking back. "You are trespassing in restricted space. The penalty is immediate execution." "We just wanted to see Earth," Claire said, trying to keep her voice steady. "We weren't trying to cause trouble." Rend stopped and turned to face her. His eyes were yellow with vertical slits for pupils, and they studied her with cold calculation. "You are the human," he said. "The one from the university. We've been tracking your stolen vessel since you left the station." "Then you know I deserve to see my own homeworld," Claire replied. "Your homeworld?" Rend laughed, a harsh rasping sound. "This has not been a human world for 200 years. He gestured to the soldiers, who pushed Claire and Mira into a large observation room. The far wall was entirely transparent, offering a panoramic view of Earth below. But what Claire saw made her blood run cold. Through magnification screens she could see the surface in detail. Cities were not abandoned as she had thought. Instead, they were active with movement. Massive mining operations scarred the landscape. Refineries belched smoke into the atmosphere. And everywhere she saw humans. Thousands of them. Tens of thousands. Working in the mines, operating machinery, hauling materials under the watchful eyes of Volcrum overseers. "No," Claire whispered. "That's impossible." "Your species was not destroyed," Rend said casually. "They were conquered. The Volcrum Empire invaded Earth 203 years ago. Your people fought bravely, I'll admit. But they were outmatched." Mira's wings trembled with shock. The extinction story was a lie? "A necessary fabrication," Rend confirmed. "The Galactic Council would never have permitted open invasion and enslavement of a species. So we created a more palatable narrative. Humanity destroyed itself. The galaxy accepted this story because it confirmed their prejudices about violent primitive species." Claire pressed her hands against the glass, staring at the enslaved humans below. "How many?" "Approximately 40,000 survivors," Rend said. "The initial invasion killed most of the population. The rest were relocated to labor camps. They mine rare minerals that exist only on Earth. Very profitable for the Empire." "You're monsters," Mira hissed. "We are practical," Rend corrected. Earth's strategic position and resources were too valuable to leave in the hands of such a weak species. The Volcrum Empire brought order to chaos. Claire turned away from the window, her mind racing. 200 years of slavery. Generations born into captivity, never knowing freedom. Her distant cousins, relatives she would never meet, working themselves to death in mines and factories. What happens to us now? She asked. You will be executed, Ren said simply. Your bodies will be disposed of and your ship will be destroyed. The galaxy will believe you died attempting to breach the quarantine zone. A tragic accident. He moved toward the door but Claire called out. Wait, can I see the records? The historical files about the invasion? If I'm going to die anyway, I want to know what happened to my people. Ren paused, considering. Why not? Your curiosity changes nothing. He led them to a control room filled with computer terminals and data storage systems. Volcrum technicians worked at various stations, monitoring the mining operations below and tracking ships in the surrounding space. Access Terminal 7, Ren ordered one of the technicians. Show them the historical archives. The technician brought up files on a large display screen. Claire watched in horror as recorded footage played. The invasion fleet arriving in Earth's orbit. Cities burning under orbital bombardment. Human defense forces, pitifully outgunned, making desperate last stands. The surrender negotiations. The forced relocations. Mira's antennae drooped as she watched. The entire galaxy thinks they destroyed themselves. No one knows this happened. No one can know, Ren said. If the truth emerged, the Galactic Council would demand we return Earth and face war crimes tribunals. The Volcrum Empire would lose the resources we've built our economy upon. Unacceptable. While Ren talked, Claire noticed something. The control room's communication systems were connected to the galactic network. The same network that carried news, data, and broadcasts to every species in known space. She glanced at Mira and saw her roommate's eyes widen slightly. The Sylphid had noticed it too. I understand now, Claire said, stepping closer to the display. You can't let anyone know the truth. Precisely, Ren agreed. Claire suddenly lunged for the nearest control terminal. Her fingers flew across the interface, navigating menus she had learned about in her university classes. Mira moved at the same instant, her wings creating a blinding flash of light that disoriented the Volcrum soldiers. Stop her! Ren shouted. But Claire was faster. She accessed the communication array and began uploading everything. Historical files. Video recordings. Mining operation logs. DNA evidence from the enslaved humans below. Everything that proved the invasion, the enslavement, the lies. She broadcast it all on every frequency to every network node, across the entire galactic communications grid. Transmission active, the computer announced. Broadcasting to all galactic relay stations. Ren grabbed Claire and threw her away from the terminal. She hit the floor hard, pain shooting through her shoulder. Mira tried to intervene but two soldiers caught her wings and pinned her down. Shut it down. Ren screamed at his technicians. Too late, sir, one replied. The data is already propagating through the network. It's reaching every major civilization. Ren's face contorted with rage. He drew a weapon and pointed it at Claire. You've destroyed everything, he snarled. No, Claire said, climbing to her feet despite the pain. I've exposed everything. The whole galaxy knows the truth now. Alarms began blaring throughout the station. More Volcrum soldiers rushed into the control room. In the chaos, Claire saw her chance. She grabbed Mira's hand and ran for the corridor. Stop them. Ren ordered, but his soldiers were too busy trying to contain the communications crisis. Claire and Mira sprinted through the station, heading back toward their impounded ship. Behind them, they could hear weapons fire and shouting. They burst into the hangar bay and ran for their vessel. Can you fly us out of here? Claire gasped. I can try, Mira replied. They threw themselves into the cockpit. Mira activated the engines while Claire sealed the hatch. The ship lifted off just as Volcrum soldiers entered the hangar. Energy blasts struck their hull as they accelerated toward the hangar exit. Mira pushed the engines to maximum and they shot out into space. We're not going to make it to hyperspace, Mira said, watching their damaged systems. They've disabled the faster-than-light drive. Then head for Earth, Claire said. Get us to the surface. Mira angled their trajectory downward. The ship shook violently as they hit Earth's atmosphere. Warning lights flashed across every console. The hull screamed with friction heat. Through the viewport, Claire saw green forests and blue rivers rushing up to meet them. Home. After 200 years, humanity was finally coming home. The ship crashed through tree canopy and skidded across rough ground, tearing a path through the forest before finally grinding to a halt. Everything went dark. Claire woke to the sound of voices speaking in a language she had not heard in 3 years. English. Real, unfiltered human English. Her eyes opened slowly. Pain radiated through her body from the crash. She was lying on a soft surface in a dim room lit by bioluminescent panels. The walls were rough stone, carved from living rock. "She's awake," a woman's voice said nearby. Claire turned her head and saw faces gathered around her. Human faces. A dozen people of various ages watched her with expressions of wonder and caution. An elderly woman with gray hair and weathered hands stepped forward. "Easy now," the woman said gently. "You took quite a fall from the sky. We pulled you and your friend from the wreckage." "Mira," Claire croaked. "Where is she?" "The winged one? She's resting in the next chamber. Broken wing, but she'll recover." The woman smiled. "I'm Susan. Welcome to New Haven." Claire sat up slowly, wincing at her bruised ribs. "New Haven? Our settlement. One of 47 hidden across Earth. We've been living underground since the invasion, waiting for the day we could fight back." Susan helped Claire to her feet and led her through tunnels carved into the rock. They emerged into a massive cavern that took Claire's breath away. Hundreds of humans lived here in an underground city. Gardens grew under artificial sunlight. Children played in open spaces. Workshops hummed with activity. 200 years, Claire whispered. "You've been hiding for 200 years? "Surviving," Susan corrected. "The Volcrum think they rounded up all of us, but thousands escaped during the initial invasion. We've been rebuilding in secret, preserving our culture, our history, our hope." She led Claire to a command center where people monitored screens and communication equipment. One screen showed news feeds from across the galaxy, all reporting the same story. Claire's broadcast had reached every corner of known space. "You did this," Susan said, gesturing at the screens. "You told the truth the galaxy needed to hear." A younger man approached, carrying a datapad. "Susan, we're receiving transmissions. Multiple Galactic Council fleets are converging on Earth's system. The Volcrum are trying to maintain their blockade, but they're outnumbered 3-1. "Then it's time," Susan said firmly. She turned to Claire. "We've been preparing for liberation for generations. Weapon caches, communication networks, resistance cells embedded in every labor camp. We just needed the galaxy to care enough to help us." "You want to fight?" Claire asked. "We want to be free," Susan replied. "And now, thanks to you, we have allies." Over the next hours, Claire watched as the underground settlements coordinated their efforts. Messages flew between hidden communities across Earth. The enslaved humans in the labor camps, seeing the galactic news feeds, began to organize. Quiet rebellion turned into open resistance. Above, in orbit, Galactic Council ships arrived in force. Tharn's crystalline vessel led a coalition fleet of 12 species, all united in demanding answers from the Volcrum Empire. Claire accessed the communication terminal with Susan's help. "Can we reach the Council fleet?" "We've had the capability for decades," Susan said. "We just never had reason to use it before." Claire opened a channel. Tharn's familiar voice responded immediately. "Miss Foster. I am pleased you survived. Representative Tharn, I'm on Earth's surface with the human resistance. There are thousands of us ready to fight for our freedom." "That will not be necessary," Tharn replied. "The Volcrum Empire is surrounded and outmatched. Captain Rend has been placed under arrest. The blockade is falling as we speak." On the screens, Claire watched Volcrum ships surrendering one by one. Council peacekeepers boarded the orbital stations, liberating the facilities and securing evidence of the crimes committed. But not all Volcrum were willing to surrender peacefully. Several ships broke formation and descended toward Earth's surface, heading for the labor camps. "They're going to destroy the evidence," Susan said urgently. "They'll kill the workers rather than let them testify." Claire grabbed a communication headset. "All resistance cells, this is Claire Foster. The Volcrum are coming. It's time to fight." Across Earth, hidden humans emerged from underground tunnels carrying weapons they had built and maintained for generations. In the labor camps, workers overpowered their overseers. 200 years of oppression erupted into coordinated rebellion. Claire and a group from New Haven rushed to the nearest camp, a massive mining facility 10 kilometers from their settlement. They arrived to find enslaved humans battling Volcrum guards in fierce combat. Claire saw a young woman, no older than 20, leading a charge against a fortified position. "For Earth," the woman shouted. "For humanity." The battle was brief but intense. The humans fought with desperation born of generations in chains. When Council peacekeepers arrived in drop ships, the Volcrum guards surrendered. Claire walked through the liberated camp, seeing emaciated humans blinking in real sunlight for the first time in their lives. Children who had been born in slavery stared at the sky in wonder. Over the following days, all 40,000 enslaved humans were freed. Council investigators documented every crime, every atrocity, every lie the Volcrum Empire had told. The evidence was overwhelming and undeniable. Tharn requested Claire's presence aboard the Council flagship. She arrived to find representatives from every major galactic civilization gathered in a grand chamber. "Miss Foster," Tharn addressed her formally, "the Galactic Council has reviewed all evidence regarding Earth and humanity. We find the Volcrum Empire guilty of invasion, enslavement, genocide, and conspiracy to deceive the galactic community." A Volcrum representative tried to protest, but was silenced by Council guards. "Furthermore," Tharn continued, "we recognize humanity's right to reclaim Earth and all territories that were wrongfully seized. Reparations will be paid. Those responsible will face tribunal." The chamber erupted in discussion. Some species objected, worried about economic disruption. Others demanded harsh punishment for the Volcrum. Through it all, Claire stood quietly, representing her entire species. When the debate finally settled, Tharn approached her. "The Council wishes to offer humanity full membership," he said. "And they wish to appoint you as humanity's first official ambassador." Claire thought about the humans still scattered across the galaxy, hiding under false identities. She thought about Susan and the resistance fighters who had never given up hope. She thought about the generations born in chains who now had a chance at freedom. "I accept," she said, "on the condition that every human, wherever they are, is granted full citizenship and protection." "Agreed," Tharn said. Weeks later, Claire stood in a rebuilt classroom on Earth. The university had been restored, and human children sat at desks alongside young beings from a dozen other species. At the back of the room, Professor Vexitar sat quietly, his crystalline wings folded in a posture of humility. "Today we begin a new lesson," Claire said to the class. "About what really happened to humanity. About courage, resistance, and the importance of questioning official stories. Because the truth matters even when it's inconvenient." She looked at the diverse faces watching her and smiled. Humanity was never extinct. We were just waiting for the right moment to come home.